New Toyota trucks are skyrocketing in price. At least that's what I've been thinking since seeing the pricing of the new 6th generation 4Runner announced. Like everybody else, I've been whining about how these trucks are so much more expensive than they used to be, but I was curious to know exactly how much of a difference is there. Now, I'm not exactly a financial analyst or anything, but I do like to research things from time to time. And what I found was pretty shocking. We've got it all wrong. What's up guys, if we're just meeting, my name is Tim, and I help regular people like you learn how to love their cars more. It's no secret that I prefer the older Toyotas, so the chances of you convincing me to spend $100,000 on a Trailhunter Tacoma are about the same as the chances of me publicly admitting how much I enjoy watching 90 Day Fiancé with my wife. Slim, but not impossible. In this video, I'm going to be comparing the MSRP of 3 of Toyota's most popular trucks with the equivalents from about 20 years ago. And I'm going to be using the USD MSRPs because most of you guys are American and you gave me a hard time for saying Z instead of Z in the past, so fine, we'll do it your way. So before we talk about the price, let's take a look at the difference between these trucks with a 20-year age gap in between. Model number 1 is the legendary 4th generation V8 4Runner. You didn't think I was going to ignore this beautiful beast, did you? It had an optional 4.7 liter V8 engine that made 270 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque, and it shot it through a 5-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy, as you'd expect from a V8 powered SUV, was not great. It was 16 miles per gallon combined based on the EPA ratings. But the good news is these things could tow 7,000 pounds. Not too shabby. In comparison, the all-new 6th generation 2025 4Runner comes with a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder turbo with an optional hybrid that can make 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That 5-speed auto, she gown. We got an 8-speed automatic transmission now, and fuel economy is a combined 23 miles per gallon. Towing capacity has dropped down to 6,000 pounds, which is 1,000 pounds less, so I guess we can score one for the old timer. Oh, and also, our next round of fighters are the 2005 Tacoma TRD Off-Road and its modern equivalent. The old truck had an optional 4 liter V6 making 245 horsepower and 282 pound-feet of torque. Not bad, not amazing. We had the same combined 16 miles per gallon EPA rating, and towing capacity was 6,500 at a max, depending on the whole configuration of the truck that you got. The new Tacoma shares the same powertrain as the 4Runner that I just mentioned, so we can basically just copy and paste all of those stats and figures. The same 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, the hybrid, the 8-speed automatic, 6,000 pound towing rating, 23 miles per gallon. Pretty much the same thing. How about the Tundra? Well, the 2005 model shared the same 4.7 V8 as the 4Runner, except it was rated at 282 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. It also had a 5-speed automatic transmission, and the fuel economy took a dive even worse to 15 miles per gallon combined. Interestingly, it also had the same 6,500 pound towing capacity as the Tacoma. So that kind of goes to show it's not just all about horsepower and torque for how much you can tow. The size of the vehicle and the frame itself plays a pretty big role. Now, the new Tundra, in comparison, is an absolute monster with a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, again with the optional hybrid, making 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. It's also got a 10-speed automatic transmission and a combined 22 miles per gallon EPA rating. Towing capacity is crazy at 11,450 pounds, which is nearly twice what the old truck could do. The new trucks also have tons of safety and convenience features, lots of fancy tech, and modern styling both inside and out. I'm not gonna lie, the old trucks definitely look and feel much more outdated in comparison. But if you're anything like me, you still think they're pretty awesome. So head over to the website, grab you a t-shirt if you'd like to support the channel. All right, let's get into the pricing here now. So the 2005 4Runner Limited with the V8 engine, the MSRP was $37,795. In comparison with the pricing that was just announced of the new 2025 4Runner, the limited hybrid version of that, which is kind of equivalent, the MSRP is $60,200. Huge jump in price, right? Now let's take a brief little minute here to talk about the average wage in the good old US&A. Back in 2005, it was $55,238. Currently, it's gone up to $62,027. So people are earning a little bit more now, but not a ton. Now, here's where things get very surprising. This is an inflation calculator, and I think you can probably guess where I'm going with this. When you convert the MSRP of that 2005 4Runner, it actually changes to $60,589.73. That means that the new 4Runner is actually about $400 cheaper than the old one. What the crap? Maybe that's just a rare case where the math ain't mathin'. Let's run the numbers on another truck, shall we? 2005 Tacoma TRD Off-Road V6 Double Cab, $29,450 back in 05. I don't think Toyota has announced the exact pricing of the 25 model, so we're gonna use the 24 Tacoma. It's probably gonna be the same thing. Close enough, whatever, shoot me. $46,600 for the new Tacoma. Once again, seems like a huge price hike, but let's run it through the inflation calculator and you get $47,211.73 for the 2005 truck. So that's $600 cheaper than the old truck, once again. Let's try one more. It's time for the big kahuna. The 2005 Tundra Limited, which was the first gen if you're not paying attention, was $33,175 MSRP back then. Now a 2025 Tundra Limited with the hybrid, again, I'm trying to compare equally with these models because back in 05 you couldn't get a Platinum or a Capstone or a 1794 edition, any of those. I'm trying to keep it as apples to apples as possible. But the new truck is $61,005. Once again, another huge difference. But let's run it through the calculator and take a look. When you account for inflation, the old truck was $53,183. Finally, we've got the old truck coming in at about $7,800 less than the new one. But it's also worth noting that the Tundra became a completely different beast in the year 2007 when they redesigned it for the second gen. It was more powerful, more capable, and way larger. It was essentially a whole different class of truck. One of my favorite jokes that you see running around online is that the best generation of Tacoma was the first gen Tundra because it really was more of a Tacoma sized truck, just with a V8. So in my opinion, I think the new Tundras are kind of in a whole different segment than the old ones were, so it's not surprising that the price is different there. Regardless, this is indeed a case where the new truck is more expensive than the old one. So anyways, that means that 2 out of the 3 trucks that we crunched the numbers on are currently cheaper than they were 20 years ago when you account for inflation. I think it's crazy. Do you think it's crazy? I think it's crazy. So the selling point of the new trucks seems obvious, right? I mean, they're brand new, they've got modern styling, they've got all the fancy gizmos, you got a warranty on it, bumper to bumper for the first few years. Why do people like me still prefer the older trucks? The biggest reason right out of the gate is pretty obvious, it's reliability. So as great as the new trucks are, and I do like them, you know, they haven't had the greatest track record in the first few years that they've been on the market. You know, we've got the big recall with the Tundras, we've got the transmissions failing in the Tacomas when they're like brand new. And it's not to say that the older trucks didn't have their issues as well. I think that's one thing that people have really forgotten about when they're talking about the reliability of the new trucks. There were some issues with some of the first model years and stuff of the previous trucks as well, but they weren't quite at this scale. It wasn't, you know, 100,000 engines being replaced because they think they're gonna blow up. Not from what I remember. The older trucks, you also don't have to worry about the whole like Big Brother situation, right? With like the GPS built in them, the data recording, the tracking stuff that's going on with some like the new Fords. Chances are that's probably gonna be coming to other automakers as well in the future. We can kind of count on that. And the old trucks were kind of unplugged. You didn't exist. You can just mind your own business. Nobody's tracking you, nobody's watching you. The older trucks were also harder to steal. They still had regular metal keys like this one and not the push button start. Nowadays, we're seeing stories in the news of people testing out the modules and stuff that you can buy, everything that you need on Amazon to be able to clone the signal of a key fob and be able to get into somebody's vehicle and get in and drive away. That's crazy, and it doesn't happen with the old trucks. Older trucks can still be stolen, but it's the more traditional way. You gotta be a little bit gutsier to actually, you know, break a window or pick a lock or hotwire something. It's not as simple as just grabbing your laptop or smartphone and hitting a couple buttons while nobody's looking and then you drive away. With the new trucks, you're also forced to purchase options that you might not want, and you have no choice but to get, you know, blind spot monitors and lane keep assist and reverse cameras and things like that. The old trucks were kind of bare bones. Heck, Toyota won't even allow you to buy a non-turbo truck now if you happen to not be a fan of the whirligigs. So it turns out we can actually blame inflation for the sticker shock that we're seeing when we see the prices of these brand new pickup trucks that are just getting higher and higher and they're just skyrocketing. The other big issue too is that wages in North America just aren't really keeping up. And so back when these old trucks were brand new, it seemed like our money could go further. You know, you would hear stories of people, they'd have to be pretty responsible, but they could save up the full amount and go and buy a brand new vehicle with cash. And we just don't hear about that very much anymore because our cost of living has gotten so high that people are too busy trying to afford groceries and rent or mortgages and stuff like that. Our housing market has gone insane. And so to see the pricing on these trucks be so similar, it's interesting because the world is not similar at all. The world has changed hugely, and yet the cost of these Toyota trucks is still kind of the same. And as much as I would love to blame the greedy automakers for this problem, it really is the government's fault. Also, I'm sure that if you did this with the Canadian MSRPs, the results are going to be pretty much exactly the same, if not even worse. Up here, a brand new Trailhunter Tacoma is a six-figure truck, $100,000. If you enjoyed this type of deep dive video rather than all the lot lizards that are running around the dealerships screaming into their cameras about how the truck market has been crashing for the last 5 years, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and watch this video next to appreciate the golden era of Toyotas.